Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Gyro, I'm your host here. Today is the turn of Path of Exile to be front and center on my channel yet again, because we have finally received what is called a development manifesto from Grinding Gear Games, revealing some of their intended balance changes in the new league for Path of Exile 3.15 Expedition. We knew that the nerfs are coming. So Chris Wilson, the director of the game, has been very open with us in the live stream that just happened the other day, and you can see my initial impressions of that live stream. I kinda overall was quite excited about the upcoming league, but now having looked at this game balance write-up, massive write-up, I thought that I'm going to publish this completely unpretentious, not pretending to be a pro here or understanding the knock-on effect, complex effects, knock-on effects of every single bloody nerf that they are throwing at us in this case, but just wanted to connect with those of you from my audience who are still playing Path of Exile and not just Final Fantasy XIV and other kind of stuff, because I played both games. Just talk to you about it. Yeah? Is that cool? Let's do it. Yes, I have scribbled a little bit here on the screen. I'm sorry, but if you don't like my little handwriting, try doing this yourselves with a mouse. It's not that easy, trust me. So we're taking a close look without pretending to be experts, just as casuals. We're taking a look at game balance in Path of Exile Expedition. So nerfs everywhere, right? Massive nerfs everywhere. So what they're talking about here, they start by talking about the reduction of power of support gems. Because apparently from this massive write-up, the short of it is that if you have 6 linked item and all of these potential slots in the item sockets, they have support gems, and they are particular support gems, the ones that grant huge multiplicative damage bonuses. But basically they're trying to reel back player power a little bit and make the world a little bit more exciting and dangerous, as it used to be years and years ago. How fun will it be? Will it be fun at all? Will it not be fun at all? Well, first of all, everyone plays differently. For some it will be fun, for some it will not. I can guarantee that straight away. Secondly, just how much we will feel these nerfs, just how much disempowerment we will feel potentially is yet to be seen. But the numbers talk for themselves. So they are reducing damage bonuses on support gems that are clearly just about huge damage boosts. So that's an important point, I think. And they are trying to balance them with some downsides. Okay, when I see something that says overall this works out to be somewhere total of somewhere around 20% or potentially up to 40% of damage reduction, I don't need to do any advanced math to take that for what it is and say wow, and have a little bit of ugly inverse smile here like this. That's what it is. The gems that used to provide only a damage boost, no utility kind of positive effect, or had very mild restrictions, they will be giving more damage. From what I understood. Tell me if this wall of text hit me too hard and I'm also missing something here, because it's very possible. But I think the gist of it, I got it. Those with downsides or restrictions grant between 38% to 48% more damage, depending on how severe the cost of using this support is. And I also highlighted here that there is quite a bit of effect onto melee weapons and on melee skills that are working with melee weapons. They particularly targeted those as well. So they're talking about giving us an example here of Ground Slam, how Ground Slam has changed. I wonder if you and I, as casual players, presumably I'm talking to another casual here, I wonder if we will feel it at all. Or we might, who knows. That is kind of what is front and center for me when I read something like this. I'm just wondering. So they are talking a little bit about slams versus Warcries. So there is a manner of obviously playing, melee characters especially, where you do a Warcry, which gives you a temporary buff, significant buff. So looks like they're leveling it out. They say that at the same time they realize that slams have been overperforming relative to other melee builds that's with a Warcry. So for example, because slam builds, they relied on Warcries in quite a few situations. Ground Slam, Seismic Cry, for example. Seismic Cry will no longer provide more damage to exerted attacks. Does it mean RIP Warcries? I don't think so. I don't think so personally, but I welcome discussion on this. it clearly means that reliance on Warcries is not going to be as massive as it probably has been in the past. I think we can all conclude that. But I again welcome more educated opinions on this from people who are real number crunchers. I am not. Awakened support gems are nerfed, substantially nerfed. But again, how many of you beginners of Path of Exile and just casual players who just come into the league, play for a few weeks, how many of you have awakened support gems? In all honesty, but it looks like it's a substantial nerf to awakened gems, in case it means anything to you. Alright, there is a Flask system rework. So Flasks are reworked, and I'm very excited about this, because as I said in the early kind of impressions video from the reveal stream, I think they were talking about the fact, well, there are quite a few things highlighted here on the screen. So previously / currently, the correct behavior to use flasks was to spam flasks, was to like spam the buttons for the flasks. I hated even the idea of playing like this, never played like it, and caught a lot of flack from pros and experts who are saying, Gyro, you're not playing the game properly, hence you should never give advice to beginners. I disagreed with you, and I'm glad that Grinding Gear Games kind of also disagree with you, and always thought that this is a little bit of a kind of degrading type of method of play. So they're trying to baseline it. They're trying to make sure that we expect a lot less permanent power from spamming flasks. Great. I think a flask needs to be a situational tool that you use, you get something from it, you enjoy it, then you keep going with your own native kind of power. And then there are a couple of orbs that they're introducing into the game. So instilling orb is of a massive interest to me as a lazy casual player, because it will cause a flask to be used automatically upon specific condition. For example, you start bleeding, or for example, you get ignited. Fantastic. And then we have this one, which is a little less clear to me, but it looks like utility flasks will not just be getting charges all the time while it's active, the effect. But the effect, it is boosted. Okay, fair enough, we will see this, but I'm genuinely a big fan of this rework. They're also talking about reworking of the unique flasks, probably making them more potent, desirable, and that kind of stuff. Exciting, just as any unique item should be. It should be exciting, it shouldn't be just something throwaway like this. Poison now inherently doing 50% more damage. 50% more damage seems like a lot of damage. So I was like, ooh, that was, I'm quite interested. Particularly they're talking, I think, about Trickster, if I'm not mistaken. No, not Trickster. Assassin. They're talking about Assassin tree, particularly being affected by this. Alright, now, trigger effect costs. Fun detected, fun removed, in my opinion. So what they're doing is, they are saying, so as mentioned on the live stream, most triggered skills will cost mana. But let's say cast on damage taken, everyone's favorite cast on damage taken, get out of jail card, not even get out of jail card, but just stay alive card, especially for casuals who are not beefed up characters. This was like one of the key methods to stay alive on the battlefield in some cases as an undergeared character. Now looks like it will be massively increased in terms of the cost. So that is not fun, in my opinion. I think that this is definitely not fun, and this is not the only fun removal, spoiler alert. So there is something else coming. Arcane Surge is an example of mana management support gem that used a lot of caster builds used to include Arcane Surge, and it was providing some mana regeneration, mana conservation more rather than regeneration capabilities. Now it provides increased mana regeneration rather than percentage of mana per second, and no longer provides increase to cast speed. Cluster Jewels, none of my builds as a casual player who always stands for a casual play. Basic stuff for funsies. I never really relied, in a couple of cases I relied on Cluster Jewels, but not profoundly, not massively. In this particular case it looks like the damage over time multiplier when it comes to Cluster Jewels has been nerfed. So maybe RIP, maybe not, there should be a question mark. Let me know what you think about this. And finally, fun detected, fun removed, number 2. Totally RIP Autobomber. No, this is not so Fire Burst is not the only autobombing build, but it's one of the most famous ones, easiest to make, funnest to make, and there is a video on my channel where I just demonstrated very easy how to make one, without much investment, and still have great results, super fun, You know, it's a passive gameplay, not everyone has to like it, but it's like with any particular gameplay. You don't like particular style, doesn't mean that others wouldn't enjoy it. Well, this is definitely RIP. So when they say that these mechanics have been significantly reduced in power because they were too strong, Fire Burst. Fire Burst was what Autobomber, or typical Autobomber build was relying on. So now it's reduced in damage and has a longer cooldown. RIP for sure. There are many buffs to underperforming skills, so they buffed them. As I said to you plentifully already so far in this video, don't want to repeat myself, I'm not number crunching here. I look for something that talks to me. And I quickly skimmed through this, and I think none of these skills, the underperforming skills, none of these skills are of interest to me. And I am probably one of those important denominators for the game designers to look for, because one thing is people who live in the game and they are like, I don't know, they are specialists, so to speak. I refer to them as pros, but whatever, you know what I mean. But to someone who is a casual, who is representing the crowd of people who might just be interested to pop into the game, and they need to be grasped by something interesting to, you know, to have influx of more interest, money, ultimately revenue for the development company, I would imagine. None of these appeal to me. None of these, even with buffs, but I'm reading and I'm like, Seismic Trap, Lightning Spire Trap, Spark, Body Swap, Ice Storm, what else? Lightning Tendrils? Again, not a criticism to you if you're playing and enjoying these skills. I'm just welcoming your opinion on whether or not some of this was actually important to you. But to me, from my perspective, and I'm always only offering you my perspective here, this is still crap. I think that these buffs, they might numerically buff these skills, but they don't make them more exciting. Other than perhaps, and I just saw, Artillery Ballista and Explosive Arrow. Explosive Arrow is a pretty kind of bread and butter kind of skill. There are a lot of builds, you know, kind of beginner friendly builds, and Artillery Ballista is alright as well, especially considering that they reworked the gem for 3.15, so perhaps tiny buff here of 10% at all gem levels would be felt, but it's nothing to write home about massively. And that's all that there was here in this development manifesto. Tell me what you think. Tell me what, if you are into these numbers, if you even care at all about these nerfs, about some of the occasional buffs, about some rework of the skills. Would be great to have not just conversation with my Final Fantasy XIV community that I started recently, and I'm spending a lot of time in Final Fantasy XIV and continue doing so, but I will also continue playing Path of Exile. So some of my Path of Exile people, let me know what you think about this, and I'll be speaking with you again very soon. Well, certainly when the new league launches. We probably will start a new character, begin a character, I'll pick a build and we'll start building it out. That's at least my rough plan, but we'll see how we go. Thanks very much for tuning in today. Hope you didn't mind my scribbles. Like if you liked the video, subscribe if you haven't already. See you later. Bye bye.